Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sarah and this is Everyday Homeschooler. So in our house this week, we have been getting ready for homeschool assessments. Most days you could find me piling up the kids' work from the school year, making lists of the books we read, the topics we covered, pulling out special activities and things that we did for our homeschool year. One of the educational activities that is listed on all of my kids' lists is that they help in our backyard garden. And this got me thinking, how do I use my backyard garden as an extension of my homeschool classroom? Now, I'm sure you're thinking, obviously, a garden is full of science content. It is just all kinds of botany, right? Well, actually, I am able to use our garden to cover a myriad of subjects with my kids. Let me give you an example. Last fall in about early to mid-October, Mariah and I headed out to our garden and we planted some garlic bulbs. The day we planted, it was pretty chilly and cold outside, and it was making Mariah think about snow. And she immediately said, "Hey Mom, why are we planting these when it's about to get cold and snow outside?" And this led to a really great just little conversation about seasons and months of the year. When my kids are learning their calendar and the months of the year and days of the week, I have them sing different songs to help them memorize all of them. So we spent a little bit of time discussing the fact that there are 12 months in the year, and Mariah sang her little song.
January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. These are the months, 12 months in a year.
Talking about the months on the calendar and the seasons of the year were just a really easy way to rabbit trail into how the earth rotates around the sun. So her and I just, had a little conversation about that, and she was really, really interested and wanted to learn more. So when we went to our local library that week, the first thing Mariah did was found a Berenstain Bears book about the seasons of the year. And then we also grabbed a couple of astronomy books talking about how the earth orbits around the sun and how that creates the different seasons. So just in that, 5 or 10 minutes that Mariah and I spent in the garden, we covered a lot of subjects. We covered a lot of things outside of just botany and parts of a plant. We talked about weather, earth science, astronomy. We covered a little bit of math as we were counting and talking about the months in the year and the 4 seasons of the year. We did a little bit of music as we were singing our memory work songs. And then we did reading. We went to the library and picked out books about what we were talking about. So just in one small 5 or 10 minute time period in our garden, we covered a lot of subjects. Now, let's take this a little bit further and make sure this wasn't just some one-time rare occurrence. So this week, it's early July, and Mariah and I had to back out to the garden to harvest that garlic that we planted. I normally plant my garlic bulbs in October, and normally by around the 4th of July, they are ready to harvest. I wait and harvest my garlic when it is turning brown about halfway up the stems and the leaves are really starting to brown, and sometimes even the whole stem is just flopping over. That's when I know it's about time to harvest our garlic. So because Mariah helped me plant this in the fall, she's really taken ownership of this crop. She calls the bed that we planted the garlic in her garden bed, and she wants to go out and check on her garden and her plants. So it didn't take much convincing for me to ask her to come out and help me harvest the garlic. So as we were digging the garlic up out of the ground, conversation just naturally happened, and Mariah started to ask me, "Hey Mom, what type of food is garlic? What food group is that in?" This relates back to the fact that we've been studying the human body in school lately, and we did a lesson on nutrition and the different food groups. So we talked a little bit about what food group garlic falls in. That then made her ask what types of food we put garlic in. And of course, that made us discuss spaghetti and pasta. And I took this opportunity to say, hey, what country do you think of when we talk about pasta? And of course, this led us to Europe and to discuss Italy. And Mariah, of course, loves Italy because it's one of the countries that are easy for her to remember because it's shaped like a boot. So that made us talk a little bit just about European geography. Next, as we dug up all of the bulbs and laid them out in the grass, Mariah just spent a few minutes counting them and talking about the fact that, wow, we planted these small little cloves and they grew into a big bulb. And so not only was that counting practice, but we just, talked a little bit about multiplication. Just not that she's learning her multiplication tables in kindergarten, but, how things multiply, how that happens. As we were digging up the garlic, the other thing Mariah did was identify all the different parts of the plant, the leaves, the stem, the bulb, the root. And we just talked a little bit about the roots help water the plant. And do you remember we talked about photosynthesis that one time? What part of the plant does photosynthesis? After we were done harvesting, we went ahead and gathered all of the garlic together and headed to the garage to put it into storage so that it can start to cure and to dry out. And this was, a concept Mariah had not really thought about before. Why were we taking these crops into the garage to let them cure and dry? Why weren't we just taking them right into the kitchen to make spaghetti for dinner? So this created a dialogue about weather and humidity and evaporation and the water cycle. So as you can see, we covered a ton of school subjects just in 15 or 20 minutes out in the garden working together. We covered a lot of science, botany with the parts of a plant, nutrition as we were talking about the different food groups, biology, weather, the water cycle. We did a little bit of geography as we were talking about the country of Italy, math as we were counting the bulbs and discussing multiplication. And then obviously I couldn't be a self-respecting homeschooler without asking Mariah to head inside and to do a nature journal. I'm thinking about doing a video completely devoted to nature journals and how we do those in our home. But basically, I just had her get her journal, draw a picture of the garlic, write the date, and then try to label the parts of the garlic or write a few facts about it. And of course, I helped her with that because she's in kindergarten. With doing a nature journal, she was able again to cover science, art, writing, a little bit of reading, a lot of school subjects. So I think you see where I'm going. It's really easy in a garden to take one simple thing and rabbit trail down a bunch of different subjects in school. Now, if I was going to do this with my older kids, my 11 and 12-year-old, I would probably do it a little bit deeper and we would do things that were a little bit more challenging. If I was discussing garlic with Noah or Leah, I would probably encourage them to maybe look into farming practices about garlic, how garlic is grown on a broad scale across our country. Maybe I would ask them for a math problem to figure out how much garlic we would need to plant this October in order to feed our family garlic for the entire year. Maybe I would have them dive into history and to look into all of the ways that garlic has been used medicinally through the years. I could even ask them to dive deep into organic versus pesticide practices in gardening and see what kind of research they could come up with. I think you can tell that you can really dive deep in just about any subject matter in your garden. I say all of this to be an encouragement to you, whether you are a homeschool parent or just a parent who has a garden. Don't be afraid to get your kids out in the garden with you. Let them get their hands dirty and just see where the conversations take you. You can use your garden as an extension of your homeschool classroom, or just really, it is a place like no other that you can create learning opportunities with your kids. If you enjoyed today's video, please give it a thumbs up and like it below, and leave me a comment. I would love to hear from you. Tell me how you use your garden as an extension of your homeschool classroom, or just what fun learning things have happened in your garden with your kids. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe. I make new videos each week about education, homemaking, and everyday life. See you later.